Welcome to Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. Today focus on a game called Pocket Bomberman for the Game Boy Color, or at least here in North America it's for the Game Boy Color. If you're in Europe or Japan at the time, it's actually just simply for the Game Boy Pocket, hence the title Pocket Bomberman. But when the Game Boy Color came out in North America, they wanted a nice little plethora of launch titles, so a fresh coat of paint was put on the game, and we got what we have here displayed on the screen. Now personally, I really do like this game quite a bit. I've always been a Bomberman fan. I had Bomberman 2 on NES growing up, which we played a ton of multiplayer on that. We had Bomberman 64, Bomberman Hero, Bomberman Second Attack, all for the N64. I had another Bomberman game on the Game Boy Color, which was like a Link's Awakening adventure style game, which we'll eventually get to in this challenge, just simply not today. And even when the Switch came out, like the Bomberman game was a launch title, I even bought that. Wasn't my favorite Bomberman, but it just goes to show, like, I go way back with Bomberman, and I still follow it, at least to some degree, even to this day. Now, all Bomberman games play pretty much the same as far as like laying bombs out, destroying enemies, and most of them are going to be a top-down view or three-quarters view gameplay. However, Pocket Bomberman is going to try to mix things up a little bit and be more of a 2D platformer with the same gameplay loop as far as like laying bombs down, trying to destroy all the enemies, but it is going to be a fresh take upon the series. Now, me personally, I think they did a fantastic job doing this. I love the colors, I love the enemy animations, I love all the different power-ups that you can get. Even the boss battles are pretty darn epic. The story is lacking a little bit, but you know, you aren't playing a Bomberman game probably for the story. But overall, I think it's a pretty fantastic game. But let's go ahead and dive into Pocket Bomberman for the Game Boy Color. Now, this particular game did get moved up in our queue a bit because ZIR3120 requested my earlier video, so now she moved up in the queue. There's a game that you want to see me cover sooner than later. Let me know the name of the game in the comments down below. And just like Pocket Bomberman, I'll move it right on up. Now, I like to start the videos up looking at the box art for the game first. And the box art here is pretty iconic in my opinion. You have Bomberman in like a medieval superhero get-up because he got his little sword off to the side, little suit of armor, his boots, his gloves, but he has like a Superman cape in the back. I don't know, it's very unique, but at the same time, I really do like it. You have one of the core bosses you're going to fight against in the background there, which is like a giant skeleton dragon. If I was a pterodactyl when I was actually playing the game, but looking at the cover here, is definitely going to be a dragon. There's a nice little forest scene here, a little waterfall coming over the background. I don't know, like it's really peaceful, very adventurous, very medieval. There's everything I like in the cover, and it normally wouldn't suit like the overall atmosphere of Bomberman, but judging from like the gameplay here, as far as like the setting, it definitely suits the overall game itself and describes the game pretty much perfectly. So overall, a excellent cover here. Now, when you load up here, you are going to get a fairly prolonged cutscene. It's going to tell you some background story for the game, and it basically boils down to a land which was a bright and sunny place full of happiness has been taken over by dark and depressing clouds, and that's because a monster has hidden away the Sword of the Sun. And the only way to regain the Sword of the Sun is to collect 5 power stones from 5 individual boss monsters, and once you collect all 5 of those, you can unlock the power sword and officially restore the peace and happiness to the land that you love so much. Now, Bomberman, for some reason, has been cast into this storyline, this environment. He is the only hero who can do it, and so all of our hope rests on Bomberman to take out all 5 of these monsters. It's not the best storyline for a game, but like I said earlier, I don't play a Bomberman game for the story, and so I feel like this one is serviceable enough to sort of keep the events of the game rolling. Now, when you get to the title screen here, there are 2 different game modes that you can choose from. You can do normal game or jump mode. Jump mode is almost like an arcadey style game where you're just like constantly jumping, trying to get like a high score, defeat little mini bosses along the way. Not necessarily my favorite game mode, but at the same time, that's not what this game is based around. Normal game is where you're going to basically play through the storyline and what's considered finishing the game. And so obviously that's what we're going to focus on for the video. Now, when you load up here, you do have like a little map screen. It's going to have the all the locations you're going to try to climb on your journey through Evil Mountain in order to get all of these power stones. So along the mountain, there's going to be the forest world, the ocean world, the wind world, the cloud world, and then the evil world to finish it all off. Now, you can't choose which one you want to go to like a Mega Man game. You just have to go through them one at a time in this particular order. So we do start with the forest world first. And anytime you go into a new area, you do get like a little animation still of Bomberman exploring that environment. And you can see here, this is basically the cover of the game minus the dragon in the background. Little waterfall, little forest around you. Fits perfectly for the forest world. Now, when you get in here, it's going to be a vertical platformer, but it's not going to follow the same physics of an average platformer at the same time, because Bomberman can jump in the air just like any other platformer. He can land on platforms, he can journey all around. However, like when he does jump in the air, he can lay a bomb out, and the bomb is just simply going to stay in the air wherever you laid it down at and explode in this little area just like a usual Bomberman game. And so it's like a combination of the old school Bomberman style with a platformer, and it sounds weird and it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but at the same time when you're playing the game, it just simply plays pretty much flawlessly, and I wouldn't have the physics any other way. Now, as you're going through here, you can blow up different bushes. It's going to give you different items like power Bomberman up, as far as like freezing the clock, or allow him to pick up more bombs or lay more bombs down, have a larger blast radius from the bomb itself. These items are fairly normal for most Bomberman games, but as we go through more of the worlds or more of the tiers of the mountain, we are going to unlock some fairly unique abilities for this particular game. But as you're going through here, the enemies are going to be like little snake men. They're going to come up and try to attack you. You're also going to have like little Kirby's are going to journey around back and forth. As far as like puzzle-wise goes, there's not going to be like a ton of puzzles. There's sort of gates that come down. If you blow up the top of the gate will come up. Nothing really much to figure out. And when you take out every enemy in the area, that is when you have cleared the level and you have to go to the exit door in order to exit. Now, in the forest world, there are going to be 5 different areas that you have to clear. And in the final area, you do get to go up against the boss of that particular world. And this boss is going to be a giant tree. I'm going to say it's Wispy Woods from the Kirby franchise, because Kirby did make an appearance in the earlier level here. And so I'm going to make that connection, whether the connection is there or not. But Wispy Woods is going to be your main boss here. He has these little projectiles that he can shoot out at you. And he can also fire out a projectile, which I'm going to call it a bee larva, because it looks like a slug mixed with a bee. So I'm not really sure like what it is. It doesn't fly around like a bee, but regardless, those are his projectiles he can fire out at you. And you just simply have to hit him. I think it's 5 or 6 times. And every time you do hit him, a little number comes up to tell you how many more bomb explosions you need to have on that particular boss. And I do like it when games actually give you a countdown or like a health bar for a boss, because I hate it when you're just simply fighting a boss and you have no idea how many more hits it takes. And so I do appreciate that about this game. But once you finish him off, you then get to journey into your next world here, which is going to be Ocean World. And for the animation still, it shows Bomberman swim through the ocean with a very unamused pufferfish swimming around him. Now, as far as like the gameplay goes, it's going to be very similar to the first level. Obviously, the colors are going to match up more of a underwater world here. You have seaweed instead of bushes that you have to blow up in order to get your items out of them. You have little waterfalls that are going to come down, try to push you down. You can also swim up to waterfalls, and those are going to replace the gates that you have to blow up in the first level. As far as new enemies, you do get pufferfish you have to blow up, as well as clams, and neither one of those are exceptionally hard. Now, there is one new item that you can pick up here, and it's basically like proximity mines, or I'm sorry, not proximity mines, timed mines. Or not timed mines, remote mines. That's the word I'm looking for. And so you can lay your bombs down, and then you can press the select button and you can blow the bombs up at any time that you want. And this is a fantastic item to have inside the Bomberman game, and it really works well as far as like laying out strategies and sort of baiting enemies into different areas. And I really do enjoy that. And there's also like a little flight item that you can get, or like a feather. And this allows you to sort of jump endlessly in the level. At first, I thought I was just swimming in the underwater level, but when I cleared it and went to the next area, I realized that I'm not actually swimming. I'm actually got like a little flying power up, and you have to collect that every single time that you want to have it. Some items like actually transfer over from one level to the other, like how many bombs you can lay down, your blast radius, even your remote mines, those transfer over. But your item where you can actually sort of jump endlessly, that does not transfer over. So I really can't figure out like why certain items transfer over and why some don't, except it was a developer decision, possibly about making the game a little bit too easy if you had too many items. Now, the boss of the ocean world is going to be a giant crab you're going to fight against, very similar to the crab from Super Mario Bros. 2. At least that's what it reminded me of. He can shoot out like a little star that sort of circle around the perimeter of the environment to try to kill you. He can also shoot out different bubbles to try to hit you. Now, as far as strategy goes, he is a little bit harder than the tree boss in the first world. However, he does follow a set path here. So if you just simply lay bombs on the top part here and the little platform beside you, if you have the remote mines, just wait for him to come into that particular area on his little path he follows. You can blow him up and just simply jump around to avoid the projectiles when he does fire them off. It's really not too hard of a boss. Now, when you defeat him, you do travel off into the wind world, and it's going to show Bomberman sort of paragliding in the wind. A nice little cutscene here. Now, as far as like the level itself, it's going to obviously focus more on the wind aesthetic. They're like little, I guess, wind tornadoes or wind volcanoes, what I call them, that sort of shoot up little tornadoes to blast you up into the air. As far as like obstacles in the environment, you get to fight against airships, which makes complete sense, or blimps. And you also fight against ghosts, which, I mean, I've never really thought about like ghosts being part of the wind, but regardless, ghosts are in this level. Really nothing to write home about as far as like differences in gameplay. It's going to be the same. Blow up all the enemies until you finish them all off, find the exit, journey through all the areas. The boss of this area is going to be a giant skeleton dragon. I thought it was a pterodactyl when I first played the game. I still think it looks a little bit like a pterodactyl, but the box art corrected me. It's definitely a giant dragon. He can shoot out like little dragon skulls that come out and try to attack you. A really cool looking boss aesthetic, and I wish the Bomberman series would do more with him, because I would love to see him back in a future game. And who knows, maybe he is back in a Bomberman game. I just don't know that. You can let me know in the comments down below. He is a little bit more aggressive, which allows you to also be more aggressive in order to take him out as fast as you possibly can. Now, next up is the Cloud World. And at first, I was a little disappointed because I was like, what's the difference in a Cloud World and a Wind World? Really, they should have chosen two different elements for that when crafting the game. However, like when you actually get into the world, you clearly know, so like this is meant to be a snow world and not a cloud world. Now, I can understand how it does sort of look like clouds, but to me, this definitely looks more like a snow environment, like little snowman heads around here, different snowbanks throughout. I don't know, if it's not a snowland, it definitely should have been a snowland. I mean, even the enemy here is a penguin that is hopping around. Like, what type of penguin is up in the clouds? This is supposed to be a snow world through and through, at least from my perspective. And so I feel like they should have called this Snow World or Ice World. Now, as far as the gameplay loop goes, it's pretty much the same once again. You do have like a little protruding snowbank that comes out. You can hop on, it disappears fairly quickly. And when you do get to the boss of the world, it's going to be a giant pink spider wasp. Now, I say all that because if you look at it, it definitely has the back body of a wasp, the middle body of a spider, but the face is like all pink and fuzzy, sort of like a monster from the Muppets. And so a weird conglomeration here as far as like mixing the enemy together. He's really not too hard. I figured out a strategy. If you lay two bombs down here, right here in the middle, and you have a large enough radius, he always comes down to the bottom like a little spider descending, and you can simply set those bombs off and blow him up. And he's very easy to take out. He does shoot out like little spider webs that can attack you. Also like little spiders that come down to also try to attack you. Those are all pretty easy to avoid and just simply continue laying the bombs right there in the middle. And very easy to take him out. So to me, he's probably the easiest boss in the entire game. Second only to probably the tree at the start. Now the final level you're going to go into is called Evil World. And when you load up here, it's got the final demon you're going to fight against, which is like an angry wizard demon. Because he's got like, you know, an old man beard coming in, nice and gray. It looks like he probably has some wise words to tell you before he sets you aflame here. But when you journey in here, it's like a giant demon's castle that you're going to fight through. You have more snakes, not the same snakes as the first level, a new type of snake. And you also have like these gold gargoyles who are going to try to attack you. Now, the gold gargoyles are probably the most unique enemy in the game because they're not very fast. They're actually very, very slow when you first see them. And you can get one bomb in on them very easily. But then they speed up really fast and fly around the environment. And it's fairly difficult to get the second bomb on them. However, they do follow a fairly telegraphed pattern, so you can sort of map it out a little bit. But they are definitely the fastest enemy in the entire game. And they can kill you pretty darn fast if you do not get out of their way. Now, as far as like obstacles here, you do have like little flames that are going to come up, sort of like the fires in Mario 3 in the airship level, just simply vertical this time. And then you also are going to have like this little spinning wheel Bomberman can hop on, sort of spins him around a little bit and flings him off in an odd direction. If there's one of those gargoyles around when you get stuck on that wheel, you might as well just say like you're dead, get ready to start over again. But as far as worlds go in the game, this is probably the hardest world that you're going to go through when it comes to different enemies and obstacles. But when you get to the boss area, you would expect the boss to sort of match up with that, but he's not going to be the hardest boss you're going to encounter as you're journeying here. When you fight against him, he basically follows a path that's going to be wherever you're at, he's going to disappear and try to reappear where you're located at. And so you just simply wait for him to disappear, move over a few little frames. He's going to appear pretty close to where you were at. And for a normal game, this might make it a little bit more difficult. But for a Bomberman game, this makes him incredibly easy because you know exactly where he's going to go. So you can just simply lay your bombs out and you can have him taken out in really no time here. As far as a final boss goes, it's fairly disappointing as far as like difficulty spike. But at the same time, this game is not a difficult game in pretty much any form or fashion. It's a fairly relaxing game. It gives you plenty of continues. I think it's just infinite continues really. And it never really punishes you except for like taking away some of your items when you die. Now when you do take him out, you get a final cutscene here of Bomberman inserting the 5 stones into the stone barrier. And then you're able to pull out the sword of the sun and vanquish the dark, depressing clouds across the land. And the sun can shine again, and happiness and peace is brought back upon Bomberman land again. And so that's the overall story for the game. A weak story, but as far as the gameplay goes, I really do enjoy this game. The platforming is very fun. It's very fluid. Like I said, the physics work perfectly as far as like when you lay your bombs out. The enemies are just varied enough between all the levels to keep you interested. The different item power-ups, I love finding all the ones, especially like when they add a new one in for individual levels. The levels never overstayed their welcome. They were never too short. It was literally like the perfect length of a game. I say you could finish the game in maybe like an hour and a half if you're sort of playing a relaxed journey through it. But if you wanted to speed run it, you might be able to get down to like 30 minutes or so. But for a normal player trying to just simply collect a lot of different items, trying to really explore everything the levels had to offer, I'd say probably like an hour and a half to finish the game. The boss fights were fun. The gameplay loop was fun. Enjoyed the game as an overall. I'd probably give it a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I can see myself going back and playing it. One of the better Bomberman games that I have played. And there's also that jump mode I mentioned to boot on here. So when you finish the main game, there's plenty to go back and try to get a high score and sort of finish that up. Even though I don't really enjoy the jump mode as much, it's still fun to have like an extra mode built into the game. But overall, great game. I enjoyed it. But what are your thoughts about the game? Have you ever played Pocket Bomberman? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above. And go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.